Excuse me, sir. What's the most amount of money that you've made in a single year?
So I don't count my money because the moment you start counting your money, it starts getting reduced. So I've never counted my money.
What do you do to be able to afford a car like this?
So I'm an entrepreneur and I'm an insurance and a reinsurance broker, and I represent the third generation of the JB Boda Group.
Oh, that's very interesting. Can I have a few minutes of your time for the younger generation?
Sure, absolutely. Why
Can
not?
we talk somewhere quiet?
Sure.
Thank you. So, sir, who am I here with?
So I'm Rohit Boda. I'm the third generation of a family-owned company called JB Boda Group. We are into the business of insurance and reinsurance broking, and we were established in the year 1943, and we're the first Indian insurance and reinsurance broker of the emerging markets. And apart from that, I run a company called 0910 Holdings based out of Dubai. It's the world's first roll-up strategy company focused on the broking and the distribution consolidation in the emerging markets.
Right, that's very interesting and quite a portfolio already. Sir, what does one have to do in Mumbai to, be able to afford a car like this?
Not only in Mumbai, but in any part of the world, or when you're walking on the journey of entrepreneurship, the first thing is patience and second is grit. And the most important element that I always contribute towards, or rather the big contributor towards the entrepreneurship, is discipline. I mean, there's nothing that you can achieve without the right discipline and the grit, because the world is always going to bog you down, but it's your own spirit and your own motivation, or self motivation as we call that. You have to lift yourself up and keep going.
That's very interesting. How did the journey for JB Boda begin? And how did your journey begin? When did you come in?
So I started in 2011. It's been almost 14 years around, and I'm part of the fraternity. JB Bodha was actually established in the year 1943, and we are the first or one of the very rare Indian companies which were established amongst the World War II. So it was started by my grandfather and my grandfather uncle. So in today's language, we call them as founders and co-founders, but in those days they used to call them as brothers. So that's how the journey began.
All right, okay. So you are a third generation entrepreneur.
Yes.
What were the initial challenges that you had to go through? What was it about figuring out this business? Was it something that you always wanted to do, or did it happen by accident?
So many very years back, I always wanted to be a musician, and then of course I'm born in a Gujarati Indian family. So it's more of you have to make your destiny your choice. So that's how it all began. And in an Indian company, the most challenging part is a father and a son's relationship. And like any other legacy organization, when I entered the business, it is always going to be a strategic paradigm shift for moving those people working in that mindset for 30, 40, 50 years to make them think like a new generation. So more than their responsibility, it becomes my responsibility as part of the management and owner of the organization, that how I gel with them and change their mindset. We will not call this as a destination, but it is a journey, and it's a constant evolving process that unwinds over time and time and time and time again.
So when you joined your this organization, what are the first few things that you did with it? And probably what kind of risk did you take which turned out in your favor?
So, the biggest risk in again a family owned organization is to work together. A typical Indian family would have the people in the organization would have its own mindset, its own way of dealing with things. So, more than financial risk, the risk of working together with everyone, understanding the mindset of where people are coming from. A lot of people in my organization have worked with my father, my grandfather, uncle, who have been the late chairman of the group. So they come with their own mindset. I come from the youth perspective, understanding and trying to balance the youth as well as people who have worked for 5 decades in JB Boda Group. So how to strike the right balance is a constant risk that I face even today.
What do you love the most about cars, and what do cars mean to you?
I'm a car fanatic, but only to a certain extent. What I love about speed cars or supercars is that the speed, but then the risk you take while speeding has to be a calculated risk. That's very much which I relate to entrepreneurship. You can take risk, but it has to be very calculated. So you cannot go bonkers and put everything at stake.
Yeah.
It's a saying, right? You have $100 in your bank account. You segregate those $100 into the right ways and right means and structure, and then form your entire risk element of your life. So that's same with the supercar. When you're speeding on a highway, you cannot just go on speeding. There will be times when you have to brake.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how entrepreneurship works. There are days when you are at the throttle and a blitzkrieg speed, and then there's suddenly months of dry silence. There are speed breakers, but then you overpass the speed breakers and then you take the next move, and then you again start accelerating.
Was it ever tough to convince people that there's a billion-dollar industry in, giving insurance, selling insurance?
This is actually not a billion-dollar industry. It will soon be a trillion-dollar industry. And if it is not today, it will become one day. The sheer reason is that the concept of nuclear family in India is increasing, and the financial freedom is what everyone is looking at. And when you talk about financial freedom, the first thing that you talk about is insurance as your mechanism if something happens to you. We do appreciate the fact that it's a push product in India. The awareness is less, but the Indian regulator and the government, the new investors who are coming in the market are doing a brilliant job by establishing themselves as a key market players. And there's a massive amount of foreign investment in the insurance space that's coming in. So yes, it is a very large industry. And if you look at broking per se, then broking is something, broking, as I put it, is a very lucrative asset. And if you look at the broking companies that are getting established in India today, we pride ourselves in calling ourselves a pure Indian desi multinational entity with a zero foreign partnership in place, and that's a very important element.
That's amazing. That's really fun. I mean, I really love your suit, your entire lifestyle.
Yes.
Where does that come from? I mean, is this something that you really enjoy?
Yeah. So when I joined the industry, I saw a lot of people wearing shirt and pants, and then at the most a typical blazer. But the Indian audience is not a full suit audience. But because of the multinational culture and the business and the territories, geographies we operate in, I've always been a very suit fanatic. As on today, I have more than 75 suits.
What?
And there's a reason for it. It's I take it as an investment. I can tell you, and I can watch for this fact that once you're in a suit, your confidence level automatically elevates
Yeah.
to the next level.
A suit tells a
Yeah.
lot about the man.
Yes, exactly. And it's all about the way people look at you when they talk to you for the first time. And it also shows a lot of respect towards the people you're meeting. Because when you're dressed well, the opposite person does feel important, does feel that respect towards him or her that comes into the place. So, but for me, suits have been I call it as one of my body parts. I mean, if you see a lot of my social media, I put suit as my body part or as my everyday habit. And yeah, I would call myself a suit fanatic.
That's amazing. Very interesting. Could we probably look at a few of them?
Yeah, sure.
Let's go.
Absolutely. Let's go. So one thing I want to reveal is that it's a trivia. I don't wear single-breasted suits.
Okay.
So I've completely moved in last 5 years to double-breasted suits.
Why
And
so?
so that I feel makes a gentleman look complete. And I have a very crazy believer of the fact that a double-breasted suit is something that looks very fascinating, and it builds greater confidence. But if you look at these suits, these are heavy corporate suits, but then I always add a tinge of funky buttons here. So I always like to play around with buttons. So blue is one of them. So this is all that I like to put on myself every day, and this is how I like to showcase the respect towards the people I'm meeting. And I always believe that dressing well is not, apart from boosting confidence in yourself, dressing well is all about respecting the opposite person.
That's very interesting. And do you feel a change when you're wearing a suit in your lifestyle or personality, or how, just in general, how your mood has changed?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, you use the very right word, mood. You do a meeting in a t-shirt and a denim, and then suddenly you are in a conference wearing a suit or tie. And you will also very rarely, in very one of the cases, you will find me wearing a jacket without a tie. So I would never don myself a jacket without a tie or a blazer without a tie. So yes, your mood, your in a lighter way, you boost up your testosterones when you wear a complete suit.
Yeah.
And that's all related to your confidence level, the way you sit, the way you talk, and you automatically get into the zone of entrepreneurship.
But so before I ask you further advices, what is that number one mistake that you see today's founders and entrepreneurs doing?
Founders and entrepreneurs today, the greatest mistake that I see is everybody wants to grow very fast, not fast, at a blitzkrieg pace. People are expecting overnight success, and success is again a process. It does not happen overnight. When the young entrepreneurs, people who are starting, people who have just spent 30, 60, 90 days in their business, and when they go on social media and look at the success of these other people, they want to just grow at a blitzkrieg pace, but it cannot function that way. Success has its own rules, which today's entrepreneurs, they do fail to realize the fact that a shortcut way is not the long term strategy. To grow very slow, and in this process, you have to have your grit held at the times when you're not seeing success in short span. So one of the greatest mistakes is that they do fail to realize the hazards of growing fast.
And since you mentioned social media, do you think social media is important for today's businesses?
Social media is absolutely important for today's businesses, but what you do with social media is of utmost importance. If you are only going to scroll and waste your time on social media, that is of absolutely no use. Unfortunately, that's how the generation operates. But if you're going to have a meaningful, digitally hygiene environment towards your approach on the social media, then social media can do wonders for you.
For them. Sir, if I were to give you 1 CR rupees right now, what would be the best places to invest?
आज इन्फ्लेशन आज के डेट में 1 करोड़ से क्या होने वाला है यार बट if you're going to give me 100 crore,
Huh?
and one of the most lucrative asset that I would today invest in
Huh.
is insurance and reinsurance broking.
Okay.
We are those distribution channel partners for an insurance fraternity, which works very much behind the camera. But we are a very important element, and the margins that we work on, broking over a period becomes a very lucrative asset. And but jumping back to the 1 CR question on a serious note, so I have invested personally in blockchain,
Okay.
and I'm a very firm believer of blockchain and AI as a technology. A couple of other industries that I look at very neatly is clean water business, hydrogen, and I'm also on an advisory board of a healthcare startup in Bangalore.
Okay.
So these are some spaces that I feel that if you have a 1 CR and if you are into pure investing, then these are the spaces you should be looking at.
That's interesting. Any tips that you'd like to give to, startups or owners or founders that are just starting out their business, or anything that they need to keep in mind ki, before starting a business, ye cheez sort kar lo or something like that?
Yeah. So the absolute thing that entrepreneurs should be looking at is clarity. Today, a lot of people want to do a lot of things at one go on the same day. But again, if you have clarity in what you're doing, if you're picking up one thing at a time, but running parallel operations, but having a lot of focus on each and everything, building good teams. So you need to have clarity in your communication towards your team. That is of utmost important because you're the founder and there's a lot of things that are relied on you as a founder and as a starter of the company. So it is your philosophy, your methodologies that are going to percolate down to the bottom to your team. So it is extremely important that you have clarity in your communication. Apart from that, be patient and be very, very disciplined. That's one mantra that I always tell to myself and people around, that be very clear, be very disciplined, and grow with patience. Patience will teach you a lot of things that you don't have to do, which is more important in the journey of entrepreneurship rather than things that you have to do. So you should know what things you should avoid and you should know what things you should be focusing on.
Interesting. Sir, since you spoke about clarity, if you don't mind me asking,
Yeah.
how old are you?
So I'm 37 running now.
Okay. And what is it that gives you so much clarity at 37? And
Uh,
did you also face this problem while starting out?
Yes, absolutely. I ran three startups, and all of them beautifully failed. So that was a very excellent learning curve for me. We did not put everything on stake. We did not put our life on stake. But what those failed startups made me realize the fact that whatever you are doing, whatever venture you are venturing into outside your genre, you need to have the right people, you need to have the right investment, and you cannot put your life at stake for these things. So you put things gradually, you segregating these things. We tried our best, but it could not work. So probably there was a lot of clarity in those projects, but probably there was a means of execution that did not work out. And that taught me, because of those three startups that failed, today I'm again on the verge of starting a company in Dubai, which I've been working on since last 4 years. But we were very patient, very slow. We did our homework for 4 years, and then the company got launched this year in the month of July.
Sir, this 8 decade legacy, what is it that you've learned from that they don't teach in business school?
So one of the fact, or one of the very important thing that my father
Hmm.
taught me on day one when I joined the company on 11 July 2015.
Okay.
Sorry, 11 July 2011
11, yeah.
was ethics. So there's absolutely chances of failure in your life, but there's no margin of error in terms of ethics. You're very strong on ethics. The company, me myself, I've always been very vocal when I have a conversation with my father that whatever I'm building, whatever I'm contributing towards JB is whether I'm there in the company or no tomorrow. The whole idea is that every individual in the company should be working very ethically, because I'm a man of principles, and my first principle begins by being true to what I'm doing. Anything that is built on ethics lasts, which I've learned from my grandfather and ancestors. That's how we are in our 83rd year of operation. We have never been a company with a debt. We've never been a company that has offloaded equity. And it's a pure organic, strategic way of executing things on day-to-day basis.
Is there something that you wish that they taught in business schools?
Grit and patience.
Mhm.
That-
Grades. Yeah.
you as I always say, there are when you are on the journey of building things,
Hmm.
more than people who support you are going to be the more people who are going to bog you down. You don't have grit, you lose at first, second, third, fourth instance, you are immediately going to shut your shop. But if you started with the motto of shutting your shop just by people bogging you down, then probably you were never meant for entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship is brutal, as I always say. It's not an easy job. It's a 24/7, 365 days, giving up on weekends. Work life balance is always going to be a question mark. So, grit is something that you have to hold with yourself, with people around. You have to have a very strong ear on what people are saying. Uh, Most important characteristic that has to be learned in the journey of entrepreneurship is to ignore things. Yeah. Ignorance is bliss. There is a reason for that quote, right? So when you start ignoring things, when you focus on what you have to achieve, and your focus has to be pin sharp in terms of where you want to go, what you want to achieve 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years down the line. And it's not only about building yourself, but again, when you talk about business schools, the most important element here is that when you're building something, you're building for the community and with the community. There's never a one man army, it's an army. Yeah. And in entrepreneurship, till you don't have an army, you can't build greater things.
So this we spoke about work-life balance. The 9 to 5 right now by this generation is very frowned upon. They don't like it. What is your take on it?
So I personally have uh, no issue in people choosing a 9 to 5 life. I'm no one to comment on that. But if you ask my own lifestyle, then I'm always active on weekends. I'm always active on festivals. At some point of time, I also expect my teams to be so active like me. But I know it's not going to be possible. And I'm not only on weekdays, holidays, festivals, but the reason is that I'm pathetically disciplined. I have a way of spending my day. I don't believe in working uh, 18, 17 hours a day. But then when I'm working, I'm working. So it's all about your constructive hours that you spend in 20. Everyone has 24 hours, right? Even Warren Buffett has 24 hours, but he's running Berkshire. If you have to go there, then you have to work with the right people who share the right mindset with you.
Yeah, who share the same
Yes.
vision and they help you take it forward. But yeah, so thank you so much for this advice. It was a great conversation with you. But before I let you go, I just want you to look at the camera and leave a message for people watching.
So I always have a quote where I say that you have heard of a quote that sky is the limit. But then I just did a little maneuvering to that. And when I started my journey of entrepreneurship, and over last few years, I carved a quote saying, "Sky was never the limit. Everything that lies beyond the sky is yours, the future." And that's how I term your future as. If you're going to restrict your thought process to sky, then that's where you will reach. But if you're going to think beyond the sky, your journey should begin when you reach the sky. And that should be your vision. And that's how we build larger institutions and we build for the community around us.
That's amazing advice. Thank you so much, Rohit, for your time.
Thank
It
you.
was a great conversation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.